हरि ओम। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Welcome to session 135 of Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. We will continue study of chapter 18 known as Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Today we are taking up verses from 21 to 25 of this chapter for our study. Later, Sri Anant Kulkarni is going to chant the verses that were discussed in the class. Before all that, Dr. Amitabh Saharai will give us a quick recap of the verses we studied in our last episode. Over to you, Dr. Amitabh, sir.
Hari Om, Om Gurubhyo Namaha. In chapter 18, Lord Krishna summarizes the entire Bhagavad Gita similar to chapter 2. Hence, these two chapters are extremely important. Chapter 18 broadly is divided into three parts. The first part covers Karma Yoga, the second part covers Jnana Yoga, and the third part covers different topics from the perspective of the three gunas. In verse 16 to 20 that I am going to recap, the second and the third parts are touched upon. With that background, let's look at verse 16. A jnani is a mixture of Chetana and Achetana Amsha. An Ajnani is also a mixture of Chetana and Achetana Amsha. The difference is only in their perspective. In verse 16, an Ajnani's perspective is given. An Ajnani considers himself or herself as a doer due to unrefined intellect and does not see the truth. Through the study of Vedanta, all of us seekers are on a journey from becoming from a state of Ajnani to a Jnani by refining our intellect and learning to see the truth. In verse 17, Lord Krishna takes the perspective of a Jnani. A Jnani does not identify himself or herself with the body or mind. I am the body notion is not there. So, Kartritva Bhava or I am the doer sense is not there. Naturally, Bhoktitva Bhava is also not there. So, Jnani is not tainted, na lipyate. A Jnani is not bounded, na badhyate. A Jnani is not bound by karma phalam, nor is he bound by karta, nor a bhokta. Now let's look at verse 18. All human activity can be classified into two, knowing and doing. First is knowing. All activities begin by knowing. A human being spends the first 20 to 25 years of his or her life on education, the process of knowing. Then he or she gets into a job which is doing. And once we get to know about a person or object, what happens? We either develop a liking or a disliking for the object or person. As a result, we are either attracted or repelled towards the object or person, which is known as pravritti or nivritti due to raga and dvesha. So, our entire life is in this cycle. First knowing, then desiring or disliking, and then running towards or running away. So, the only way to come out of this cycle, the cycle of samsara, is through knowledge, more importantly, the knowledge of the self. In verse 19, it's an introductory verse for the third section of the Bhagavad Gita, where different topics are dealt with from the perspective of the three gunas. The threefold classification of gunas, the guna bheda, is based on the differences of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Incidentally, this section is borrowed from the Sankhya philosophy, guna sankhya prochyate, because the study of the three gunas is a specialization in the Sankhya philosophy. Okay, coming to the verse 20, knowledge of the self can be at various levels. At the lowest level, it is called Tamasa Jnana, where there is a lot of negativity and sloth. At the next level is Rajasic Jnana, where the individual focuses and identifies very strongly with body and bodily activity. And the next higher level is the Sathvik Jnana, where the mind is more introverted and knowledge-seeking. So with this, we will continue the study of the rest of chapter 18. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Amitabh, for a nice recap with excellent slides of the verses we studied in the last class. Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Om. We started our journey of the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse almost 2 years ago in April of 2021. We have now come to the concluding chapter, the 18th chapter. So we are at the beginning of the end. It is like we are going on a long pilgrimage. And from a very distance, we can see the flag on the top of the temple, but we know that we have a long way to go. And as the end is now seen, we are now at the beginning of the end. Let us revise some important topics on Brahma Vidya. All of us are informed and qualified spiritual seekers. Our goal is very clear. Our goal can be defined on this beautiful verse of Mundaka Upanishad, which goes like this. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmana. Brahmana here means an informed, qualified spiritual seeker. What does such a person know? Nirvedyam nasti akrita kritena. Nirvedyam means an informed seeker now develops a sense of frustration or vairagya to anything that pertains to dharma, artha, and kama. I am done with all these, and I know for certain that these things are not going to give me fulfillment. Such a person takes a complete turn. Tat vijñārtam sa gurumeva abhigachet. The human craving is for the limitless, for the infinite. And therefore, the infinite can come only under the help of a guru. And what kind of a guru? A Shrotriya Brahmanishta. Fortunately, we have such a guru. And once we come to a guru, the guru now gives us, our destination is moksha. But the guru knows for clear, moksha is not a goal because it is a siddha vastu. But for the time being, the teacher compromises and gives us a sadhya moksha called Jivan Muktihi, which means while in this body, with all its limitations, you can be free. And once you get jnanam, and once jnanam is able to destroy all our karmas, that means that when the body drops, a person develops videha mukti. And such a goal is called adhyaropa. That means a certain scaffold or a temporary vision of a goal is given called a sadhya moksha, called Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. The teacher now starts us, for now we remember we are a qualified student. We have got Jnana Yogyata. And for such a person, there are various prakriyas of certain techniques that we have worked on. That means Sharira Traya. I am someone other than the 3 bodies, the Panchakosha, the 5 sheets. I am other than the Avastatraya. I am not the waker, the dreamer, or the deep sleeper, but something that is in and through all of them. Then there is a very important prakriya called I am other than whatever I can see and experience. This is called the Drik Drishya Viveka. Through Drik Drishya Viveka and all the other prakriyas, the teacher now tells us the truth that the only reality is Brahman, and whatever I experience is not as real. And this is clarified with the Mahavakya Vichara. And then we come to the great statement, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Aham Brahmaiva. I am Brahman. Now this message has come to us. And not just come to us, we are convinced about it. And when this is convinced, this kind of knowledge is called aparokshata. It is not an indirect knowledge. It is something I have realized. I'm absolutely convinced about my nature. As body-mind, I'm limited, but as Atma, I am limitless. And I can say this with confidence. As Atma, I'm using the Mahavakya of the Mandukya Upanishad. I am Atma Brahma. I'm not an ordinary waker, I'm a super waker. I have 2 kinds of Shaktis. One is called Maya Shakti and the other is called Nidra Shakti. Believe me, until a few years ago, until some time ago, it would be impossible to be speaking like this. But now we are able to say with conviction that with Maya Shakti, I as Atma am able to create this Vyavahara Prapancha, which can be also called a Vyavaharika dream because I am of a higher order of reality. And during sleep, through Nidra Shakti, I project a dream world which is called a Pratibhasika Satyam, or the dream world. Where am I located? As body, I am localized, but as Atma, I have no location in time, I have no location in space, because time and space all are within Maya. They are all projections within Maya. Once this aparokshata jnana, that means I am convinced about my true nature that I am Brahman, there is another sadhana that I need to work on, that this jnanam has to now become a jnana nishta. This knowledge has to be internalized, just like stirring a sweetener into the drink. And this is called nidityasanam. I need to progressively strengthen the fact that I am Brahman and the world around me is not as real as I think. And the world around me includes my body and mind. We have to begin with my own body and mind. Once we have weakened this idea that my body and mind is mithya, the other things automatically fall: my family, my friends, my profession, and my possession. And because I am of a higher order of reality, I really cannot have a relationship. I am asangatvam to all these things, anatma. How it brings about liberation is anything that happens to my body, mind, my family, my friends, my profession, my possession, I illumine, I'm aware of all that, but it cannot really affect me because now I know I am of a higher order of reality. When this is clear, why we need to bring an apavada to the sadhya moksha, that moksha is no longer goal. I have been Purna, I have been Atma, and I realize that as Atma, I am Nitya Mukta. I am born free, I am free, and I will continue to be free. The other benefit is the FIR reduction. That means upsetting situations I illumine, but it does not affect me. Although even if it affects me, the recovery is much faster. What do I do now? This is a nice verse from Yoga Vashishta. Tad Chintanam. All my thoughts are about Brahma Vidya alone. I am Atma Brahma. Tad Katanam. Anybody I speak to, I speak about that only. Anyon Tad Prabodhanam. If I find somebody who is open, I Prabodhanam. I awaken that person to this understanding. Ekadeka Paratvamcha. Other than this, there is no other topic worth discussion. Brahma Bhyas Vidur Pudaha. The wise people say this is what is called Brahma Bhyas, or this is what is called Nidityasanam. With this background, let us come back to today's topic. We are in the beginning of the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Sri Krishna is talking about now 6 topics. He already finished the topic of sannyasa. The topics in today's class will be mainly the Rajasic and Tamasic aspect of Jnanam, and Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sathvik aspect of Karma, and later classes we'll deal with other topics like Karta, Buddhi, Dhriti, and Sukha. The opening talk of Jnanam will be by Rama Gopalakrishnan. Ramaji, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bhagavad Gita, verse 18.21. Pruthaktvena tu yat jnanam nana bhavan pruthak vidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tat jnanam vidhi rajasam. The translation: the knowledge by which one distinctly perceives the different kinds of diverse natures in all the living beings, know that knowledge to be Rajasam. In the verses 20, 21, and 22 of 18th chapter, Sri Krishna talks about 3 topics based on the 3-fold gunas and the knowledge about oneself, Jiva Ishvara Gnanam. Of them, Sathvika Gnanam was talked about in the verse 20. The knowledge that both Jivatma and Paramatma are one is Ekatma Gnanam. It is the same consciousness present in all the living beings, including Ishvara. This Ekatma Gnanam is Satvika Gnanam. And in the 21st verse, Sri Krishna talks about Pruthak Atma Gnanam as an aspect of Rajasic Gnanam. The verse 22 details with Tamasic knowledge, that is, identification of Jiva with the Sthula Shariram is Tamasa Gnanam. Meaning of the verse in detail. Sarveshu Bhuteshu, in all living beings. The source of Rajasic Gnanam is Veda Purva Bhaga. It is born in Antahkarana out of Rajoguna. The person has progressed from perceiving Atma as Sthula Sharira to Sukshma Shariram and claims to be a Karta and a Bhokta. Identifying Jiva with Sukshma Sharira is the intermediary stage of experiencing all pervasive consciousness. Jiva is identified with the mind, and because of numerous minds, multiple immortal Jivas are claimed. The perception of a distracted mind, as you see in the next slide, is both internally and externally. It is division. Attachment being the major component, diversity is apparently perceived. The person fears his future birth in an unfavorable circumstances. This is one aspect of Rajasa Gnanam. Moving on to the next word, Nana Bhavan. Bhava here means the Jivas. Nana Bhavan is plurality of Jivas. The Jivas of varying traits, residing in the bodies of various types of evolution. It gives rise to Raga and Dvesha, or likes and dislikes. The Atman itself has to undergo evolution as the body does, is the view entertained by this knowledge. And the reason for the multitude is given as Pruthak Vidhan, apparently different. The Atmas seem different from one another because of the limiting adjuncts, upadhis. It is even believed that Atmas belong to different species, castes, colors, or even nationalities. Attaching importance to these adjuncts is the way of Rajasika Gnanam. But these limiting adjuncts are born out of ignorance. When they are all eliminated, pure consciousness alone remains, as all distinctions are dissolved in deep sleep state. So Puja Swami Paramarthananda ji summarizes the splintered knowledge of a Rajasic person. He will try to see differences even where there are none. His vision is to differentiate on the basis of some attributes. He will sow the seeds of disharmony in a group rather than blend people together. The wrong division of the indivisible Atma is called Rajasa Gnanam. Dividing as Paramatma and Jivatma, and dividing even Jivatmas, that is the difference between each Jivas. This is the typical nature of Rajasic knowledge. The key word Pruthatvena means Bhedena, as you see in the next slide. Meaning of the word Bheda is difference. The Dvaita philosophies like Sankhya and Nyaya talk about the plurality of Jivas, mistaking the mind as Atma. And Tat Gnanam, such a knowledge, Sri Krishna says, Rajasikam Vidhi, Rajasic knowledge. Dvaita philosophies indicate the fivefold differences that makes the universe. The Pancha Bhedas are Ishvara Jiva Bheda, that is, God is different from individual being. Ishvara Jada Bheda, God from matter. Jiva Jada Bheda, individual being from matter. Jiva Jiva Bheda, one being from another being. Jada Jada Bheda, that is matter from matter. In the next verse, Sri Krishna defines Tamasic knowledge. Hari Om, Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for a very nice explanation of what is this Rajasa Jnanam. Clearly, it is based on distinction, Prithakvena. The actual truth of oneness of all is missed. And instead, we begin to separate categories: me, not me, like, dislike, and essentially we miss the divinity in all beings. We will now go to what is Tamasa Jnanam, and that will be spoken to us by Dr. Ahalya. Dr. Ahalya, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. The 18th chapter, known as the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, is renunciation for the sake of moksha, and as we know, is an Upasamhara Sankshepa, the concluding summary of the entire 16 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. In this Adhyaya, as we heard in the recap, from verses 18 to 40, Krishna ingeniously has chosen to talk about 6 topics, which would give a comprehensive picture of the entire Bhagavad Gita teaching. They are Jnanam, Karma, Karta, Buddhi, Dhriti, and Sukham. Each of these is studied as Sathvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika varieties. As a sweeping remark, Krishna says, whatever contributes to spiritual growth is Satvika. What contributes to material progress but spiritual stagnation is Rajasika. And what leads to spiritual downfall is Tamasika. In the next shloka, Krishna explains the nature of Tamasika Jnana. In fact, this is the commonest Jnanam that most people have. Unless there is the concept of higher spiritual pursuit, our world begins and ends with us. I, me, myself, where I stand for my physical body and possession, profession, etc., as we heard Dr. Hegde say in the introduction. The verse 22, Yattu kritsnavade kasmin karye saktam ahaitukam atatvartavadalpam cha tat tamasam udahritam. The word meaning, tamasam, tamasic knowledge, udahritam tat is said to be that, yattu saktam, which is attached, ekasmin karye, to the individual body, kritsnavat, as though it were the whole, ahaitukam, which is unreasonable, atatvartavat, untruthful, alpancha, and petty. When a person is under the belief and conviction that the physical body is all that exists, that there is nothing beyond what can be grasped by the 5 sense organs, where death means the end of the individual, that is tamasika knowledge. They are agnostics or non-believers in anything other than what is experienced by them. Therefore, there is no mind, no Sukshma Sharira, no Atma concept. They are Vedanindakaha actually, therefore they are Nastikaha. Since they do not believe in Papa and Punya, Punarjanma, they are Charvakaha. Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Punaragamanam Kutaha. How can a body that is cremated come back again is their question. So the role of Jivatma is completely negated. Their motto is Yavat Jivet Sukam Jivet Rinam Kritva Gritam Pibet. As long as we live, let us live happily at whatever cost is their motto. So a person who has tamasa jnana is an absolute materialist and does not believe what is not available to the sense organs. Swamiji says, this is much like teaching colors to a blind person. Colors can be grasped only through eyes. If the blind man insisted that he be taught the colors with the help of the other 4 sense organs, what sense does that make? What can we say? Next to impossible. Similarly, tradition says there are ideas that are not available to the 5 sense organs. We need to go to the 6th one, the Shastra Chakshu. We must first accept this to be able to operate, or it becomes a blind loop. Vedanta teaches us that which is not available for the other senses and pramanas. Pratyakshenanumiyatva va yastupayo na vidyate evam vidanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. pratyakshena anumityava, either by pratyaksha or anumana, or yastupaye, or whatever upaya it is not available. So either by pratyaksha or anumana or any pramana, that which is not available, evam vidanti. Vidanti jananti. So that which can be known beyond the indriyas and pramanas, that is Veda aparoksha, as we heard in the introduction. Krishna says it is better not to argue with people who are like that and who identify only with the physical body. Ekasmin karye saktam. Karyam here is sthula sharira, the gross body, kritsnavat, as if it were the sum total of all existence. Shastra says Annamaya Kosha is the physical body is the most superficial layer of our personality. A person of Tamasika Jnana considers this as everything without recognizing the existence of Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. Karye Saktamaya Tukam, which does not have any logic, ahetuka. Hetu is reason and ahetu is illogical. Like Pratyakshayakam Pramanam. Pratyaksha is the only Pramana which we know is not logical. In fact, Krishna calls it silly. Ahaitukam is ahetu technically means hetva bhasa or fallacy. So this is wrong knowledge. Atattvarthavat, there is no ultimate truth in such knowledge. Alpancha, it is very limited, shallow, and baseless. It has alpa prayojana, it leads us nowhere. Such jnanam leads us nowhere. Such knowledge is called tamasika jnana. To summarize the three types of knowledge that we just heard, I am the body is tamasika, I am the mind is rajasika jnanam, I am the consciousness is satvika jnanam. May we all, with Guru Shastra Pramana and Bhagwan's grace, attain the sattvic knowledge and move beyond the tamasic one. Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Dr. Halya. That was a very nice presentation, not only of your verse on Tamasa Jnanam, but an overview of the other two verses, Rajasa Jnanam and Sattvika Jnanam. With that, we have come to the end of one topic. We go to the next topic, which deals with karma. And this is also divided in the three Sattvika. Sattvic aspect of karma will be spoken by Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 23. We now enter the Karmanaha Traividyam, or the threefold division of karma, which here means action. Niyatam Sangarahitam, a Raga Dveshataha Kritam, a Palaprepsuna Karma, yet tat Sattvikam Uchyate. This verse describes Sattvika karma as obligatory, devoid of attachment, performed without likes and dislikes, and with no desire for any specific result. Sattvika karma is also called Niyatam karma, Karma yoga, Nishkama karma, Pancha Mahayajna, Nitya Naimittika karma, and in general, any result-oriented karma is not Sattvika karma. Krishna has mentioned Niyatam karma before in chapter 3, verse 8 as Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hi akarmanaha, and in chapter 12, verse 11 as Sarva karma palatyagam tat kuru yatatmavan. Niyatam means compulsory, Sangarahita means without asakti, that is attachment to karma phalam. A raga dveshata kritam means done with a neutral attitude. A palaprepsuna means sarva karma palatyagam. As Krishna says, yat karoshi, yadashnashi, yajjuhoshi dadasyat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. We must remember that even Sattvika karma is only just a temporary means. Why? Na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, tyage naike amritatva manashu. Neither by actions nor progeny and wealth, but by renunciation alone is immortality attained. So, what is wrong with result-oriented karma? Krishna says,
Sarvarambhahi doshena dhumena agniriva avritaha. All duties are shrouded by defects, just as fire is by smoke. It is one's attitude, the skill of asakti or akartritva bhava that makes karma free from all doshas, be it punya or papa. This is what Krishna meant by yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Therefore, by this renunciation, sanga rahita, aragadveshataha, apalaprepsuna kritam karma, one attains the supreme goal of actionlessness, naish karma siddhim paramam. So, the inference, become a karma yogi. We should understand that the problem is not with the world, but I am the problem. If I am okay, the world is okay. Because, after all, what is the world? Mai eva sakalam jatam, mai sarvam pratishtitam. The result is self-transformation, jnana yogyata prapti. What is the benefit of Sathvika karma? Bhagavan will helplessly give chitta shuddhi. This gives jnana yogyata, jnana prapti, nishta prapti, and in the words of Swamiji, binary format prapti. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anupama, for a very clear explanation of Satvika karma, which is clearly none other than karma yoga as something that gives us jnana yogyata. The next verse, verse 24, will be explained by Shiv Kumar. Which Shiv Kumar, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Lord Krishna in this chapter, in verse 19, explains the impulses to action are threefold, according to the gunas, namely Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. In verse 20, 21, and 22, he explains the threefold character of knowledge. Later in verses 23, 24, and 25, he explains the threefold nature of action. In this verse 24, Lord explaining Rajasic action or Rajasic karma says, Yattu kamepshuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tad rajasam udhartham. Friends, our previous speaker has so well explained Sattvikam karma, and that Sattvikam karma is karma yoga only, where actions or karma are done free from attachment or aversion and done with the pure intent of Ishwararpana bhava and prasada buddhi. In this verse, 24th verse, Lord Krishna defines nature of Rajoguna driven Rajasam karma, that which is done by one who is filled or prompted with kamepsuna, intense self-desires for material or sensual gains. Such Rajoguna Pradhana persons perform karma motivated by Sahankarena, one who is highly egoistic with a huge ambition, intense effort, filled with pride, arrogantly claiming that I am only doing, I can only do this, nobody else can do it. Such ahankara, all for attaining his materialistic desires, hankering after power, wealth, position, name, fame, and status, etc. And they, bahulayasam kriyate, they perform these actions with tremendous bodily or mental pain, stress, strain, tension, fatigue, and so on, which is visible on their lives in many different ways. But they camouflage it or cover up their tension with an external smile, or they put on an expression pretending to be relaxed. But in due course, this surfaces as some form of psychosomatic diseases. There are yet some extreme career-oriented persons with a single focus on climbing that corporate ladder, making money to meet a desire or attaining that coveted position in society, etc., who committed to Rajasam karma with Bahulayasam, ayasa, stress, strain, tension, anxiety, which builds up like a volcano ready to erupt, resulting in outbursts on persons who love them many a time. Such persons not knowing how to handle the resultant tension or anxiety, appear highly irritable and short-tempered. They may even end up a disaster by getting addicted to vices such as drinking alcohol or smoking and so on. All of us are familiar with the fundamental misconception, a misconception that wealth, status, name, fame, position, and such things will give us peace of mind. Whereas in reality, peace of mind has no connection to any of these external things. We ourselves would have seen persons who have all such material things, but without peace. Similarly, we also know of equal number of examples where a person does not have wealth, status, etc., but is contented and a happy person. Therefore, sahankarena, action done with kartrutva abhimana by an egoistic person, interested in external, determined to get result of actions, and when his actions does not give his desire, he will say, I will try again and again, which results in bahulayasam, exhaustion, more physical strain, stress, and is always in tension. Such a karma is rajasam dharthram, is rajasic karma. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Shiv, for giving us a clear explanation of verse 24, which deals with Rajasa karma. Unlike Sathvika karma, which was purely karma yoga, here actions is done by the ego, and whenever the ego acts, there is going to be a lot of effort and there is a lot of projection and pride associated with these actions. We come to Tamasa karma, which will be explained by Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra. Dr. Sanjay, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So, Krishna in the first 17 verses of chapter 18 has dealt with karma and jnana yoga. And from the 18th verse onwards, Krishna will talk about the jnana, the karma, the action, buddhi, the intellect or intelligence, and dhriti, the willpower, and sukham, which means happiness. Totally, we have only about 6 topics, but you have to include the 3 types of sannyasa as well, which is these Sathvik, Rajasic, and Tamasic sannyasa. Now, Krishna defines Tamasic karma and talks about thoughtless action done without proper thinking or proper planning. Now, Vedanta or Karma Yoga has insisted upon that you should have a proper planning. Any action which we do, which we all understand as well, that any action which we have done or will do, or as a professional, we also know that when we do it, any action without planning leads to inefficiency, failure, and thus worry. And any action which is done without considering the consequences and done under delusion is called as tamasic. So the verse goes like this, the 25th, Anubandham Shayam Hinsam Anapekshya Cha Paurusham Mohat Arabhyate Karma Yat Tat Tamasam Uchyate. The meaning is Tamasam Karma, Tamasic action, Uchyate Tat is said to be that Yat Arabhyate. Arabhya means to begin, that is begin or undertaken with mohat. Mohat means delusion. Delusion means you're attached to the karma. Anavekshya, without considering the anubandham. Anubandham means that what is going to happen because of this karma, which means that you have done an action without knowing its effect. And it is not planned. The consequences leads to shayam, loss, himsa, harm, cha, paurusham, the capacity. So tamasic action is said to be that which is undertaken due to delusion without considering the consequences, loss, harm, and it leads to loss, harm, and capacity. So in conclusion, however advantageous it may be materially, we should give up all the varieties of tamasa, which means tamasa karma and tamasa kartatvam. Tamasic Sukham, Tamasic Dhriti, they are all disadvantageous to us. Tamasic variety give up at the earliest and gradually ascend to the Rajasic variety of karma, which we have discussed many times. And Sathvik variety is the one you should attempt to come to. Now, it may take a lot of time to first of all understand. You require an intelligent mind and you require some jnana yogita as well as jnana itself to understand what kind of action you do. Is it a selfish action or it is something which is going to benefit only my family and my personal benefits, or it is going to benefit a large number of people, which is called as the Sathvik variety. So your effort should be to reduce or completely take away the Tamasic karma, go towards Rajasic, and ultimately do the Sathvik variety. Sathvik Jnanam, Sathvik Karma, Sathvik Dhriti, Sathvik Sukham. Sathvik variety is the stepping stone which will take you ultimately to moksha. Hari Om Sat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, for an excellent coverage of this verse. Bhagavad Gita talks so much about karma, and in the 18th chapter, again, you will have so many verses dealing with karma and karma yoga. We began with karma yoga as Sattvic, the Rajasic, and the worst forms of actions done out of ignorance and delusions, which can cause a lot of harm to the one who does and to harms to the others. Certainly something that we know must be avoided. We have come to the conclusion of this class today, and we will have a recitation of these verses by Anant. Anant, please.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Prithaktvena tu yajnanam nana bhavan prithakvidhan veti sarveshu bhuteshu tadgnanam vidhi rajasam samahaitukam atattvarthavalpam cha tattamasamudahritam niyatam sangahitam aragadveshatah kritam afalaprepsuna karma yattat sattvikamukhyate yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasamudahrutam anubandham kshayam himsa manameksha cha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yatattamasamuchyate. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anand, for your flawless, wonderful chanting. Thank you all speakers for a wonderful class. Thank you, friends, for your active participation. On Monday, 20th February 2023, let us log in for a new session 47 of Disha for the discovery of inner strength and happiness at 6:45 p.m. In this episode of Disha, we will continue our study of 10th chapter along with Tattva Bodha. With this, let us conclude today's session with our usual Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.